Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew. I'm the co-founder of Graphel, an early-stage startup bringing NFT solutions to large Fortune 500 level enterprise clients. We actually initially started out as a blockchain infrastructure company for smaller projects, but we quickly realized that most of the value, especially in this market, sat with large enterprise clients. And so we quickly pivoted kind of our production and sales and product over to that. But the problem that we ran into was that we realized we didn't have much sales training and closing these large enterprise deals that are really long sales cycles and require like a lot of diligence and even a lot of paperwork, just a lot of things going back and forth. So I had actually have met Irwin years and years ago at an angel investor conference. And he was always stood out to me as like, just a really great salesperson. And, he built an amazing career in selling enterprise software. And so, very naturally, I contacted him, and just so happens he's building out this course to help, start founders and startups sell to enterprise, which was actually perfect. So we engaged him, and at the time, we had actually had a current deal going on with one of the largest blockchain companies at the moment. And so we were going through that process, and so the class was very helpful because everyone's able to hop on the calls, silently give us feedback during the calls, and kind of help us guide us through this 3 to 6 month long sales process. We were initially very excited because they had given us an entire spec sheet of what they wanted us to build, and then we're looking at all the data integrations we can do, and it was just like a very positive piece of document to get for us. What we didn't know, and that Irwin alluded us to, was that them having the spec sheet at all is actually a bad signal because, where did they actually get it from? They must have had somebody build it out, which means that we're not the only person in contest for this contract. Which to us, before we engaged with Irwin, we thought, oh, we have this in the bag, right? They gave us a spec sheet, we're moving it along, we're trucking it along pretty quickly. And long story short, Irwin was absolutely correct. We ended up screwing up the deal. We delayed some productions by a week or two, and then realized that they were actually building this in-house. And a lot of the stuff that we built basically just, basically helped them produce their product a lot faster. So that was a pretty big letdown on our side, but we kept going, and actually maybe like a month or two later, we actually got into a deal with Mattel, the big toy manufacturer. And so by the time of this recording, we've already launched some of their NFT platforms. And so they have platforms for their toys. And we're currently building out a lot more. So we closed multiple accounts with them. And something that really helped was, kind of going through this whole process of training with Irwin for the last deal. And some of the things that we learned was he's really hard on champion-based selling, right? Like getting somebody that's within the organization that's a champion for you, that can sell for you while you're not around. Medic, which is like a framework that he uses, and literally it's like a plug-and-play framework that you can plug in like metrics and data that you need to figure out in order to kind of move this deal along. There's other things like creating an action plan or mutual action plan to make sure people are aligned in moving the sales process forward. So a lot of good frameworks that just really helped in kind of structuring how you think about a certain deal. And honestly, I think even beyond the sales training, a lot of this framework-based thinking is really helpful for us, even as founders, and a lot of other assets. Mainly, we use the same framework for even fundraising, or trying to get joint ventures with other companies, other partners, and a lot of this idea of building champions within the other organization that you're working with, and creating mutual plans, and so that you have an aligned incentive structure. One thing that Irwin taught us that we really were able to implement with this current deal with Mattel is the idea of exploring and trying to figure out what the client actually wants versus what they're actually saying. And so when Mattel initially came to us, they had come to us needing some data integration services, which is kind of our bread and butter product. And so we can, we ingest data from the blockchain, and we'll pipe it to either your Salesforce or, your front end or whatever you want. So that's what they came to us for. But then after having gone through this class with Irwin and gone through the last deal, we realized we should be doing a little bit more exploration with the client. And so what we did was talk to a lot of different departments, a lot of different heads, got higher up in the organization there, and realized that they actually didn't have anybody for smart contracts, they didn't have anybody for their website integration, they didn't have anybody for anything. And so because of that, and because we did the exploration, we were able to provide a lot more value to Mattel, and subsequently get the contract to become a much larger size, And so because of that, Mattel was able to sell well into the 7 figures onto their in their first drop. And because we did a good job at it, we were able to close a lot more accounts with Mattel. And so now we have multiple contracts going, we have multiple projects going with them in line at once. The return on the class with Irwin was it's incredible. We spent a couple months working with him directly with some of our clients. And because of that, even though the deal that we were working on at the time didn't go through, that expanded into, at least just for Mattel, like a multiple 6-figure increase in the contract that we're able to get. And beyond that, it's able to help us create a deeper interaction and connection with our clients, because now we can provide more value and really understand, where their weaknesses are and the places that we can fill in as our strengths. And so if you guys are, early stage, or if you're getting into enterprise sales, or even if you're already doing enterprise sales but want to get better at it, highly recommend Irwin. He's a good friend. He's a fun guy to hang out with, and all the things that you learn is just very great, just for founders or sales executives just across the board. And of course, all of this comes with the added benefit of an easier fundraising process. Yeah, I understand as founders, the number one goal is always to raise funds. I mean, maybe not the goal, but it's kind of your lifeline. And so being able to build these like larger contracts and being able to renew contracts is a huge signal, to investors and to kind of future companies that you do good work and that companies trust you. And so, beyond just getting bigger contracts, if you guys looking to fundraise, I think Irwin's class is a great starting place.